What's up everybody, BHart here, and today I'm going to show you how to draw Monkey D. Luffy, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're gonna do is draw a circle with a line through the middle, and then we can draw the jawline along the circle lines. The next step is to add the ears and two guidelines for the eyes. For the eyes we're gonna draw two circles first and then slowly define the form. Then we draw two curved lines for his eyebrows, the scar under his eye and the nose. And the last thing missing on his face is his big smile, and just try to keep this little distance between his mouth and the jawline. Alright, now we can move on to the hair, and there we're gonna draw the single hair tips by using two lines. And then we draw the top of his hair by using these simple lines. The next thing is the straw hat, and for that we're just gonna draw an oval starting from the ears, and on top of that we're gonna draw another oval. Now we will draw his hand pointing up in the sky, and for that we're gonna start with his thumb. And the next step is the index finger, and keep in mind to make it wider at the top than on the bottom. And then we can add the other fingers starting from the middle of the thumb. Now for his upper body we're gonna draw these two lines for his top, and from his thumb we're gonna draw another line to show the sides of his top, and then below the middle thing we're gonna draw three buttons, and from there the rest of the top. He's gonna hold binoculars in his left hand, and for that we're just gonna draw a cylinder pointing downwards. And then at the bottom of it we're gonna draw another cylinders to show the ends of the binoculars. Then we can draw two metal plates which connect the binoculars, and at the top of it we can draw the thumb and then the rest of the fingers. And behind his fingers we draw the rest of the binoculars. And the last step to finish the sketch is to draw the legs. And in the end we can add some random lines for the folds in his clothes. Alright, so when you're happy with your sketch, you can start to ink it, and I'm using a 0.1 Copic multiliner for that. Alright, now we can get to coloring, and I'm using Copic markers for that. And for the skin tones, I'm using 3 different kinds of tones: a brighter tone, a mid-tone and a darker tone. And yeah, as you can see, I'm doing a base layer with the brightest tone first. And when I'm done with that, I'm adding some shades with the mid-tone on the edges. And then I'm using the brightest tone again and try to blend the 2 colors together. And on the very end you can also add some shades on the edges of the fingers with the darker tone. And as you can see, I left some blank spaces on the fingers, but if you forgot that, you can also add them with the highlighter in the end. And now I'm repeating the same process for the face. So basically you have the base layer with the brightest tone, then I'm adding some darker shades with the mid-tone, and then I use the brightest tone again and blend them together. And then again with the mid-tone, and if you want to, with a darker tone. So yeah, as you can see, there's just a lot of blending and a lot of layers going on, and yeah. And we repeat the same process for the rest of the skin. And after I'm done coloring, I'm using a white Posca pen to add some highlights on the fingers. For his tongue, I'm just using a normal pink color, and I let it dry for 1 minute or so, and then I'm adding a second layer at the top to add the shadows. And you can color the hair all black if you want to, but I decided to add some blue tones and some gray tones. And in the end I'm also adding some highlights with the white Posca pen. For the head, I'm using a yellow color as the base layer. Then I'm adding some shades with an orange color on the edges. And then in the end I'm using an even darker orange tone to add some more shades. And again I'm using a white Posca pen to add some highlights on the edges. For his top, I'm using a red color as the base layer. And then a darker red for the shadows. And I'm also using a white Posca pen again for the highlights. And for the binoculars, I'm just using some brown tones, and also don't forget to add some lines with the pen to indicate the wood structure. And for the pants, just use a blue color, let it dry for a bit, and then do a second layer for the shadows. Alright guys, so that was my tutorial on how to draw Monkey D. Luffy. I hope that it was helpful for you, and if you got some suggestions on some characters that I can draw next, just drop a comment, and see you next time.